Well, for starters, I just want to say that I do not hate these people that aren't vegan anymore. I have seen the vegan community be so vicious to these people that are coming out as non-vegans, and I get it. There's a lot of anger about it because, you know, this isn't just a diet that you're doing for yourself, it's for the environment, for the animals, and I get the anger, but replying in a vicious and angry and bullying mentality, that doesn't help anyone or the movement. This hurts this person, regardless if they're making a mistake with this decision or if they're not, whatever. Being mean to someone for their decision, for their free fucking will, that hurts people. And veganism is supposed to be about lessening suffering of sentient beings. And people are still sentient beings. But even beyond the fact of being mean is, you know, mean, it's also completely, it's counterintuitive for the community, because obviously these people are upset just because they want to see veganism thrive and they care deeply about the animals, about the environment, but in reality they're actually doing the animals and the environment bad, because when you are mean to someone and other people see it, especially on social media, like everything is publicized, everyone sees that stuff, it makes people afraid of the vegan community. I mean, how do you think the vegan community gets this militant persona, this stereotype of, oh, she's a vegan, like, don't let her know that you eat cheese or meat because she will slit your throat. Okay, that was a little extreme.
Again, being vegan is about animals. It's not about being besties. It's not about you and me. It's not about how a vegan talks to you. It's not about joining a community or whatever. It is about preventing the needless torture, abuse, slaughter of animals. It's about saving lives. And let's not forget my favorite line, I was gonna go vegan, but you put me off. Vegans are so aggressive. I don't like how vegans talk. I don't like how they look. Oh, veganism is a cult. Oh, it's a community I don't want to be part of, etc., etc., etc. Notice there's never any mention of the animals. Oh, okay, I get it. So a vegan was mean to you, so you now have no choice but to continue paying for the abuse and murder of innocent animals. So it's perfectly okay to continue killing animals because you got offended. If you really care about animals, about the lives of animals, which is what veganism is about, then you don't care who the fuck tells you or how the fuck they tell you, just as long as they fucking tell you. If you care about the message, you don't care who the messenger is. Look, let's be real here. You don't give a fuck about the message. You don't give a fuck about animals or veganism. You're just a bored internet troll. You were never considering going vegan because your burger comes first. And because you've been trained by society to be a selfish, lazy fuck.
Do you have to be such a bitch?
All you present me with is more pathetic excuses to not change, to stay doing what you're doing.
Okay, how about you turn your critical eye inward and ask yourself why you feel the need to be condescending to someone who is trying to improve their life? Is it because you lack the inner resources to do the same?
What I'm trying to say is that when people see that vegans are actually acting like militantly and angry and attacking people, not only does it solidify this idea that vegans are assholes and the stereotype is true, but it makes them never want to join the community, because it is joining a community. So why would you want to join a community full of assholes? And that's not the case. The veganism community is honestly beautiful and I love it and I'm so thankful for it. There is such kind, compassionate, creative, wonderful characters in the community, but there are those characters that are angry and militant, and that is what damages the community and pushes people away.
I've been in the movement for over 12 years. I've heard it all. So you may as well move on and stop wasting our time. No one, no way, no words will ever stop you going vegan and protecting animals if you truly care. But the reality is most people in this society must be offended in some way before even considering changing. Remember, truth passes through 3 stages. First, it is ridiculed. Veganism gets that all the time. Second, it is violently opposed. Veganism gets that all the time. Third, it is accepted as fact. It's like, yeah, we already knew that. Yeah, people accept it as self-evident. So fellow vegans, don't ever be apologetic for standing up with a strong voice and saying what needs to be said and doing what needs to be done. No matter who it fucking offends, because as I said, people often need to be offended first before they consider changing. Remember the 3 stages of truth. Because feelings are feelings and death is death, and we must always defend the animals.
And they might even use that reason that the veganism community is mean as a scapegoat to get out of it. But regardless, why would we want to even give them a reason? And beyond that, why do we want to be mean? Like, even if someone is doing something that you do not approve of, that you do not believe in, you do not even want, and you think it's terrible, why would you react in a rude and attacking manner? It helps nothing. And I know I'm getting a little worked up here, and I don't want you guys to feel like I'm attacking you guys, because I know, like, majority of my community that I interact with is beautiful, honestly, so supportive and respectful and wonderful. I just am very passionate about this subject. I am just very passionate about this subject. I've talked about it for years and years, how the veganism community can do so much positive impact if we just chilled the hell out, if we accepted people, regardless if they made mistakes here and there, if they cheated here and there. Hello, it is Cami Editing. I just want to touch on this point that I know people will freak out and be like, oh my god, how can we accept people who cheat? They're terrible, they eat animal products. But in reality, I think it's terrible to be focusing on perfection and having this perfectionism mindset. And perfection is unattainable. We're human. It's our nature to make mistakes and learn from them. And I really think that this is a lot of the reason that people are jumping off veganism, because they've made mistakes or they had cravings and they accidentally went towards them and they're like, oh, well, now I'm not perfect, so that means I'm not vegan. When in reality, if we just accepted people with their mistakes and tried to uplift them and support them and allow them to learn through their mistakes, I think that people would stay vegan longer instead of just completely dismissing the idea. And I know people are gonna say, well, if you ate an animal product, regardless if it's a mistake, you're not vegan. And that's the exact mentality that pushes people away, because we want people to stay on the movement, continue to talk about it, continue to feel the benefits, continue to help animals and the planet. And if we tell them like, hey, you made a mistake, you're not vegan anymore, then of course they're not gonna be vegan anymore. And then that's another person lost that won't make an impact. And I'm not saying that cheating is good. I don't want people to eat animal products, but if you think about it, if someone cheats once a month, that is way more impact than someone that just completely dismisses veganism and starts eating meat and cheese weekly again. We need to focus more on the impact instead of the perfection. That has been one of the biggest issues I've been seeing lately, the reaction from the vegan community, which I said I completely understand. This has been really shocking to see the people that you looked up to, these like vegan gurus, to suddenly be like, oh, psych, I'm not vegan. It's really upsetting, but I think having support for any kind of effort is what we should strive for. You know, the people that are intimidated by veganism, they're gonna be even more intimidated if we're like, nope, you have to be perfect, you can't cheat ever, if you mess up, you're not vegan anymore, you can't join our club. In reality, we should be like, hey, like if you mess up, it's okay, let me show you how you can learn from it and not let it happen again. Or like, here are my tips and tricks. Or it's like, hey, I understand mistakes happen, I'm glad you're still part of this community. Also going into why these people quit. A lot of these videos talked about that these people didn't feel good, they had health problems, and that's why they started eating meat or eggs or whatever the hell they started eating, which I just want to talk about that the vegan diet is very vast and it varies and it's very large, and you can be super unhealthy, you can eat wrong, you can be super healthy, and you can eat right or whatever is right. There's so many different rights, and people think that once you go vegan, like, oh, this is how it it is. But in reality, you need to test out so many different ways. And I know these people tested out a bunch of different ways, but who's to say when the testing ends? Even when you're not vegan, you have to figure out what foods work for you. And when you go vegan, it's a huge change. And you really have to experiment with different things to see what works with your body. And with this experimentation, it's super important to listen to your body, not just listening to some person that's on YouTube that says you should eat this way or you should eat that way and then trusting it, because you know what? I've been there. There was a period of my veganism where I was like high carb, low fat. And I thought it was the way because so many YouTubers were like praising it and saying it was just the magical way of veganism and it's the best way to go. Woo, amazingness. And I even talked about it because I was so brainwashed by it. But when I look back, that was the time where I felt the worst. I was bloated. I had really crappy digestion issues. I just was putting on weight. I felt tired. I had mental just sluggishness. I really did not feel good. And this is actually the symptoms a lot of the people in these YouTube videos are explaining. And in a lot of these videos, these YouTubers talk about a high carb, low fat diet. Maybe it works for you, maybe it works for some people. Every single body is different. But when I finally said, fuck that, and I started actually just listening to myself, to my body, eating intuitively, I started feeling amazing. And I guess this can kind of, contradict with these YouTube videos because a lot of people who went back to eating meat and stuff, they're like, I was craving meat, I was craving butter and stuff. But with these cravings, a lot of times it's actually your body needing some kind of micronutrient or macronutrient. Like for example, there was a period I went through where I was craving fish like crazy, but in reality, my body just needed more fats and omega-3s and omega-6s. So I started eating more nuts and more avocados and just higher fats and like supplementing with omega-3s, and then the cravings went away. And of course, I'm not a nutritionist or a dietitian or anything like that, but this is from my experiences, what I've learned online. And also when my cravings got really high at any point, I would normally go get a blood test because usually that'll mean you have some kind of deficiency. And of course, I don't want to pretend that cravings aren't real because sometimes they freaking are. Sometimes you're just craving non-vegan things, which I'll touch on later in the video, but sometimes it can be that you have a deficiency, and that's why it's really important to get blood tests and just be responsible. So like I said, every body is different and you really have to experiment and listen to your body to figure out what works for you. And maybe these people did that exactly, but I have an inkling that they didn't fully do that, or they had some kind of thought in their head that they still should eat this amount of carbs, or they shouldn't eat so much fat, or I don't know, some kind of restriction, or they wanted to look a certain way so they didn't allow themselves to eat enough, or something along those lines. Again, I don't know. Maybe they didn't. This is just my hypothesis, if you will. And that moves on to my next point about why would you even stay vegan? I understand that these people weren't feeling that good, and they had this idea that not being vegan anymore would help them. And you know what? I'm not gonna lie, I've had that idea sometimes when I was doing like high carb, low fat and I was feeling so gross, and like sometimes I would crave salmon, or like sometimes I would be like, oh man, like I remember cheese used to taste good and stuff. Yes, veganism can do wonders to your body and your mind, but you know what? It doesn't turn you into a superhuman. It doesn't completely eradicate any thought or memory that non-vegan food used to taste good. Like, hell yes, cheese pizza is freaking delicious, but I'm not gonna eat it because A, it's gonna, it's gonna fuck up my toilet. To make the cheese is just an inhumane, disgusting, sad process that I don't want to support. And lastly, I love my body too much to put that crap inside of it. And I've realized this more as I've strengthened my spirituality, how interconnected your eating choices and your lifestyle choices are to your spirituality. The more spiritual I get, whatever you want to call that, basically meaning that I just am trying to go deeper with my consciousness and meditating and being more mindful with my actions, the less I want to eat unhealthy foods. I still love French fries, I will say that. But even the thought of eating like a cheese pizza with pepperoni, I just think about how that would affect my mind, my consciousness, my spirit, and how that action just doesn't align with how I want to live. I want to live a mindful and compassionate life, not only towards myself, but also towards other sentient beings and the environment. Okay, I know this sounds like some hippie shit, but all I'm trying to say is just aligning my values, my morals, my intentions with my actions. I think most of us love animals. We don't like hurting people, we don't like hurting animals, but our actions of eating them them just doesn't align with it. And I realized that not aligning your life and how you act and how you show up day to day with your actual values and intentions really creates just like dissonance. It doesn't make you feel good. And in more hippie terms, it lowers your freaking vibration, man. So yes, even though milk chocolate can be delicious, or even just like a slice of salmon, whatever it is, I make the choice to not eat it because it doesn't align with me. And I've heard these other YouTubers speak. I've known some of them personally. I know that it doesn't align with them either, because they spoke about compassion. They spoke about wanting to help the environment. They spoke about wanting to keep their body healthy and respecting it and loving it. And eating meat and cheese just isn't the way to do that. Again, it's one thing if you've slipped up or made a mistake, or it was just like, I don't know, some kind of occasion that it happened that you ate a non-vegan product, but completely going away from veganism and claiming that you are not a vegan anymore, that's a whole nother ball game. And I think also that goes back to like the fact that we have this extremist perfectionism mentality in this community, when in reality we should, accept people regardless if they're perfect or not. But I guess what I'm trying to say is just defining intention and reminding yourself why you do this. Because with any decision that's a change in your life, sometimes it's going to be hard. But then you remember your reasonings.